Hey, good day, and welcome back to another episode of Compliance Clips with your co-hosts, Rick Morgan and John Farquhar.
And we're
Today,
late today because
really,
John wasn't
well,
able to make our regular scheduled appointment, but that's fine.
sorry,
Sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
sorry, that's all right. So we just won't be the first Monday of the month. We're going to be
No,
some other Monday of the month. So yeah. So anyway, you know what? Whatever. But hey, whatever is what our topic about today. We're talking with the wonderful Chris Wilkinson of Nordrux. And we're going to kind of talk about some interesting drug stuff here in Canada. So, Chris, do us a favor and give our audience an introduction and a little mini bio of yourself and what you're up to now.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being here. My name is Chris Wilkinson, as John said, and I am the CEO of Nordrux. We are a drug and alcohol testing company servicing the transportation industry. So that's our focus. We're here to make the industry better for transportation, and everything that we do is to support you. So I'm happy to be here and providing more information today. And I'm also an HR professional too, so I bring that to our company and to our clients just to make sure that they have got all their angles covered when they're managing the complexities of drug and alcohol programs.
I've had some questions from clients lately come up, and Rick has kind of had the same thing with somebody else, and it's relating to drug and alcohol policies and programs within a Canadian only environment. And if you were going to try and do something, this is where you really need to know what you're doing so that you don't step on, well, we have human rights issues that could become a problem and whatnot. So that's why we got you on the show, Chris, is we want to open up that conversation to, we're not going to get into all of it today by any means, but if we can enlighten some of our folks of some of the pitfalls or areas they need to be aware of if they're thinking that they want to go down this path.
I think the big one is why can't they just go pick up a USDOT drug and alcohol policy for a Canadian domestic employer and say, boom, we're just going to use this because you know what? It's out there in the common sphere.
Right.
Okay. All right. Where to start? I guess the first question that I ask every single company that wants to start a testing program in Canada is why.
Why?
I ask the big why. Like, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
And I want a good why answer back.
Right.
Because the time and energy invested into building these programs isn't as simple as taking a policy and dropping it down and say, guess what? Now we got a program.
Right.
As Rick said, you can't do that. Like, it's not how programs are built. You have to start with a strong why. And a lot of whys I find are misguided or not educated whys. And some of that comes from maybe like an insurance company saying, hey, you should be implementing a random testing program for your drivers. But the company being told to do this doesn't really understand the why behind what they're doing. And so when they build a program, they're actually leading themselves down a path of potential discrimination and mismanagement of sensitive information. Even if they're familiar with a DOT program, it's a little different in Canada and how these programs are managed. There's a lot of similarities, but understanding the true why of why an organization wants to implement a program is where every company needs to start.
I think a lot of the folks are looking at the zero limit tolerance and the legalization of marijuana and the possible outcomes in the event that somebody that they employ has an accident and is subsequently tested positive, right? And the insurance underwriters are saying, hey, this is proven to work in transportation. Let's bring it over to a Canadian-only entity. So, Chris, is there like a really big hole underneath that logic that one might fall into?
Well, every company's different. No, that's where the big why starts with is what's your reason why? And once that company has determined their reasons why they're implementing this program, Toronto Transit Commission, they identified that there was a major pandemic of substance use, and they used that as their defense. So they had a very strong reason why. Suncor in Wood Buffalo region, they had a very strong reason why they put this in place. It took a long time to get there, battling with Unifor, but in the end, it was decided, yes, we're going to implement a random program. But understanding the why behind it also starts to build the defensibility behind it. Why are we doing this? But then you need to have corporate and management buy-in all the way through. Because if some people are going to manage the program appropriately, some aren't, now you've got your gaps. Now you've got some holes that you're going to fall through. Well, this person tells their drivers when they're selected for randoms, where this one doesn't. This person does post-accident testing when they're supposed to, and this one doesn't. This person's trained this way, and this person's not. So then education, training, making sure that the foundation of that program is strong. And then the communication and education for the drivers is also a human rights requirement. You can't just drop a program out there and not have any accommodation programs, communication programs, support programs in place. So by telling a company, hey, do this and implement a program, and then it's gonna fix your risk profile, or it's gonna help your risk profile, or it's gonna help us protect you in a legal case, they're actually saying, I'm gonna protect you here, but we're gonna expose you here. I'm dealing with legal, you deal with HR. And without really taking care of the HR side of the program and the rollout of it, that's where a lot of these gaps happen. Now, mind you, I say this, DOT trucking companies who already have these programs in place, they can mirror their Canadian program to the US program. You can mirror the two programs together and manage them consistently, so long as you have a strong infrastructure in place to be able to manage substance abuse, addictions, communications, education. Those ones are the easier rollouts. And there is legal cases to support those in Canada, multiple legal cases. Where it becomes a little bit more challenging, and where I really do challenge the why, is for companies who don't currently have a drug and alcohol program in place. They don't cross the border, they're Canada only. And now somebody's saying, hey, you should be doing drug testing on your Canadian drivers or your employees or somebody within your organization, like a group within your organization. Step back and say, why? And if you can truly understand that why, if you truly can say, yes, I believe that this is actually the right path for us for these reasons. And if everyone agrees within your organization of the goals of what you're trying to achieve, how you're going to get there, the measurable goals, the policies, procedures, training, communication, support systems, all that gets built. Like I've built so many of these programs and they're not easy. The easy ones are the ones that fail. The ones that take a lot of time and effort and have a strong why are the ones that are most successful and most defensible in Canada.
I'm seeing, and I don't want to say it's a direct, I'm telling you to do this, but I'm seeing where there's opportunity for that to be said with non-traditional transportation operations, like guys that have another job, but they need to operate a vehicle to get to that location. Courier type operations, contractors and whatnot. And I'm hearing actually, Rick and I have heard it a couple of times where, well, the insurance company told me to do this. And I think you're asking the why. Just because your insurance company told you to do is not enough of a why answer. I need to understand, why is the insurance company telling me to do this? Because they're not an enforcement or regulatory body that could enforce something like this and willy-nilly. Is it because you're having problems with some drivers and maybe their driver's license qualifications? They're becoming disqualified due to charges of sorts, impairment or something. Is that maybe tricking it? Or are they seeing the underwriters seeing something elsewhere? Maybe looking at a U.S. trucking operation and going, oh, hey, you could just implement that over here. I think it'd be a good idea. When, hang on, it's not necessarily a good idea. And as you've already alluded to, it is a big process to put in a program properly.
Yeah. And again, going back to the why, and then we'll get on to like the differences between long haul trucking or truck driving compared to other utility vehicles or other types of commercial vehicles.
Sure.
When companies put in a program, what are they trying to achieve? And you'll find that most companies, when they want to put in a program, they want to get rid of drug users. And that's their goal. And they say, that's our why. We don't want druggies working for us.
Right.
Okay, already you're infringing on human rights. Done.
Yeah.
Like it's a wrong answer.
Right.
There's got to be a bigger process to this where we're trying to reduce incidents. We're trying to identify people to come forward because there is a strong case behind implementing a random program. And then you have more disclosures of substance use. This is something TTC documented as well. Or you catch somebody reactively or proactively on a random or something along those lines. So it's about managing risk, but it's also about supporting people.
Right.
All right. Now, if you're just looking to terminate somebody, then obviously it's the wrong why. You're going down the wrong path. And why do it then? Oh, well, I don't want drug users working for me. I got you, but you can't discriminate against somebody after they test positive. So what are you actually trying to accomplish here? There's a huge difference, though, between the trucking community, like you have in the picture behind you, and then maybe a utility vehicle, or maybe it's a salesperson driving their own vehicle for work purposes, and they're going from destination one to destination two. They are supervised essentially. And there has been a court case that came out, the Irving Pulp and Paper Mill, where they've tried to do random testing on supervised employees, saying that it was necessary for their operations to reduce risks. But it came back stating that, no, if they're supervised, then that's too invasive. You should have people trained to observe the signs and symptoms and risk within an organization to remove somebody from work. It's because of the unsupervised roles that truck drivers have on the road, commercial driving, big vehicles, public roads, longer hours away from somebody to actually visually see them. This is where those flags start to be raised, and why it's being deemed to be acceptable to do random testing on commercial truck drivers in Canada. US, yes, but we know, and now Canada as well.
Right.
But when you have these utility vehicles, when you have these construction vehicles, are they coming to a yard? Are they going to an office? Are they observed periodically throughout the day? Years ago, there was a waste management company, and they said that instead of doing random testing, they just sent somebody out, and they were doing spot checks on the routes. They knew the routes. They knew exactly where they were going to be. So they checked on them throughout the day, and they had a supervisor going. They deemed that to be more reasonable than actually subjecting someone to producing a urine sample and testing them for lifestyle, like marijuana lifestyle.
Right.
So again, you got to know your why. You got to understand your industry. You got to understand what's acceptable based on case law in Canada versus what's being determined against random testing. There is random testing. You can do random testing in Canada. I'm not saying you can't. And I'm not telling people be afraid. I'm just telling people make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, and don't do it just because somebody, maybe it's insurance, like you mentioned, says, hey, your risk profile needs to be better. If you want to be insured, you have to do a random testing program now. They literally will grab a policy, slap it down on a table and say, look, I got a program now. Who you signed up with? I'm signed up with Nordrux. I get my random selection list on a quarterly basis. I get all my testing done. But behind the scenes, they're telling every driver when they have to go to test and to clean up their system. Do I know that for a fact? No, but I'm saying it happens in the industry.
Sure.
So even if it looks good on paper, the why is not good.
Right. Right.
So, Chris, I think one of the things that you kind of alluded to and touched on and is greatly underappreciated in the Canadian context is the linkage between accommodation and disability and how that all feeds into a Canadian specific testing regime. Could you perhaps speak a little bit to that without getting too much into the weeds?
Sure. Short topic, eh? All right. An employer, if we start with the employer has a duty to implement programs, practices, policies for a safe work environment. In the context of drug and alcohol testing, they would implement a drug and alcohol program as part of that requirement. Say, hey, we recognize that if someone was impaired, it puts other people at risk. It puts the public at risk, it puts them at risk, it puts the company, employees, and others at risk. So they implement a drug and alcohol testing program. Now the responsibility falls onto the employees to abide by these policies. If they have a policy in place and they have a strong why behind it, now the employees have to abide by these safe practices. It's almost like wearing your safety gear in the yard. Well, we have a policy saying wear your safety gear, but now you're not wearing your safety gear. We have an issue. You're not complying with the policy requirements we've put in place. If they come back and say, well, hey, I can't wear a helmet when I'm on the yard because of this reason. Now you're saying, okay, how do we accommodate you? How do we help you to be safe in the workplace when we know that wearing a helmet in this environment is the necessary steps? Do you have to remove them from the environment? Are there other helmet opportunities? Are there other ways to protect them and support them? So now the company recognizes that an individual, and be it because of a disability or religious reason or any reason that's protected under these grounds, if it's a protected grounds, the company then has to inquire further, and they have to accommodate up to undue hardship. Undue hardship is a financial burden. How far can you go financially to accommodate this person until it breaks your company? And it is very difficult for an organization to reach that undue hardship breaking point. There are times when it's come up, but it's hard to reach that point. All right. So it's better for companies to have programs in place that are already cost effective, easy to manage to support these individuals. So proactively building these accommodation programs that are readily available, knowing that these challenges and issues might come up. If somebody comes forward and says, hey, I'm addicted to drugs, you now as an organization have to accommodate that individual. But that doesn't mean you have to keep giving the money constantly. Here you go, here you go. You don't have to work. We're going to do this. We're going to put you in a corner. We're going to take care of you. But if you have a program in place that is, okay, we're here to support you. We appreciate you coming forward. Now we're going to support you with what you need. And what you may need is time off, access to counselors, access through EAP programs, access through third-party doctors, some way to support this person, holding your position for you when you get back. Do you need to take time off for inpatient treatment? So there's more of an investigation for every single case. There's not a blanket for each one, but the responsibility of the organization is to accommodate up to undue hardship if a person does have one of those protected grounds. And however they get there has to be individualized. They can have programs available to make it easy. Say, hey, this could work for you. It's worked for others. Do you want to try this? Yes, this looks great. Let me try that. Perfect. Let's go through this path. Or they'll say, no, that doesn't meet my needs because of these reasons. Then you can say, well, can we build another program that doesn't break us financially? Yes or no? And then that's where the undue hardship comes in. That was like the quickest way I could explain it.
Well, the bonus part, if anybody wants to know more, they can reach out to you directly.
Sure, that sounds good. The last piece to that, though, Rick, is that the employee doesn't have a golden ticket. They have to participate in a meaningful way with available programs and services and return to work requirements and maybe testing requirements or whatever they're supposed to do, whatever the accommodation is required, whatever the return to work recommendations are, they have to comply with them. They can't just say, nope, not good enough for me. If that's the availability, if that's the return to work recommendation, if that's what they've been prescribed or suggested or given from another professional, then that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I can say that I attended a course on the whole legalization of marijuana where it first came and dealing with the unique implications with respect to Canadian-only drug testing. And it was 8 hours of intense exploration of the regulatory environment in which we were going. And almost hourly, you're going, so, this is, thanks so much for your insights and your feedback. We have kind of like gone at Concord height and speed for this topic, but hopefully we provide some awareness for our audience and yeah, absolutely reach out to John or I or Chris if you want some more information. I know we were talking just before we went on, and Chris, you said you're actually working on a couple other presentations and possibly some materials that speaks further to this.
And there are lots, well, I can't say lots. There are some really good policy writers out there. I'm going to name drop somebody just as if this is recorded for everyone else that is out there that's interested. But Barb Butler is one of the premier policy writers in Canada. She's been involved in like every major litigation. She's been involved in almost every major policy development. I learned from her. Right. She didn't know it. I kept on telling her every time I had a conversation, I'm like, you're mentoring me. She goes, Chris, I'm not your mentor. I'm like, yeah, you are. Barb, you're my mentor, but that's okay. It's a secret one. But I always called her with my questions and she's fantastic. So I know a lot of companies have worked with her in the past, developed very comprehensive policies and the understanding of why. But for sure, like I'm here to help. I'm here to guide. I'm here to help answer those questions for a company if they're interested. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Hey, no problem. Thank you very much.
I'll second the Barb Butler. That was the one whose course I attended.
There you go.
I've heard Rick talk about it. So
awesome. Barb's great. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate being on again. Well, I guess this is my first time on this one. I guess we'll cut that out. It's my first time on this one.
We can cure that.
We can cure that. That's right.